It was the 6th inning, Game 3 of the National League Championship Series. Houston Astros leading the New York Mets 4-1. The Mets, Darryl Strawberry at bat with 2 runners on base. Pass to the wall. It's gone. The score is tied. Bottom of the 9th inning, Houston leading again 5-4. Lenny Dykstra, the hitter for New York. Davis just off the grass at first. Everybody's on the dirt
or the edge of their seats.
Hit to right. Pass going back. Going back. It's gone. That's a sample of what happened in Game 3. Tonight, ABC Sports presents Game 4 of the 1986 National League Championship Series. The New York Mets leading 2-1 over the Houston Astros. Well, Shea is shining tonight, and this is the second of 3 games scheduled in this ballpark, and the man for whom it's named just popped in and said howdy. William Shea, the attorney who fought the good fight to get this great facility constructed. The weather is mild and dry, and the temperature 55. Humidity is very high, though, as you can see. Very light wind, and with that much humidity, the ball may not carry quite like it did yesterday in this ballpark. But I think it would be easy to suggest and easy to talk about the New York Mets having momentum after yesterday's terribly dramatic win on the home run by Lenny Dykstra. But if you know this game at all, you know full well one man controls momentum of any individual game, and that man is the pitcher. And let's turn to Tim McCarver now and talk about why the Houston Astros are going to their stopper tonight.
Well, the one man to stop the momentum that the Mets have gathered over the last 2 games is the right man as far as the Houston Astros are concerned. Mike Scott working on 3 days rest. A lot's been made of that, Keith, as you know. But this is the 14th time this year that Scott has worked on 3 days rest. He's 5-3 over those starts, and he is the right guy. I'll tell you, last Wednesday night's game, the 1-0 game over the Mets, 14 strikeouts, a career high, a 5-hitter, and as remarkable a game where Scott overmatched Met hitters as much as any pitcher has overmatched any hitters over the course of a 9-inning ball game.
And his pronouncement before he dressed today and came to the ballpark was, "I feel fine, and I am damn determined." I think was sort of the way he put it. Let's talk about Sid Fernandez now, the big left-hander, 16-6. He has 2-0 against the Mets. But the thing that interests me about him, Tim, is he had 31 starts and only 2 complete games.
Well, he's not the type of guy who's going to give you a lot of complete games, but he will work deep into the ball game. 16 times this year. As a matter of fact, with working with 5 days rest or more. So he's the type of pitcher that needs a lot of rest, and the antithesis of Mike Scott, who's working on 3 days rest tonight.
And with Dwight Gooden scheduled tomorrow for the Mets, it seems to me that you've got to frame this game for Houston with a must.
Well, must games are thrown around in baseball, and everybody knows that. But if anything is a must game in capital letters, tonight is a must game, because if the Mets beat Mike Scott, then they're going to have to face Dwight Gooden, the best pitcher on the Mets staff, being down 3-1 tomorrow afternoon.
All right, we've got a special feature for you coming up next. Involves what happens to athletes who have success on the playing field in New York City.
The National League Championship Series, an exclusive presentation of ABC Sports, is brought to you by Skin Bracer. It has what your face needs after every shave. Skin Bracer by Menon.
Most every athlete in any sport wants at some time or another during their career to spend part of it in New York City, and the reason for that is very simple. If you have success on the playing field in New York, you can have considerable financial success off the field.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here are the Mets.
A clean break with Ivory.
Merchandising-wise, they're the best.
A player can command six figures easily if they're very successful and if they are the type of representative that the client is looking for.
Of course, the Mets figures everybody's talking about are those achieved on the field. But off the field, they may be larger than life. And the 1986 Mets have been going regularly to the bank, alternately busy as video stars, video jockeys,
We will be back. We've got John Fogerty and Talking Heads.
authors, spokesmen, cover boys, just about anything you can think of. This Mets mania is selling. And that's a picture advertisers like.
We believe that for every dollar we invest in advertising and marketing, we should get at least $1.75 in value. We've gotten at least that with the Mets.
Well, certainly it helps when you're winning. It helps when you're winning and you're playing exciting baseball and you have the personalities.
But there's more to it than winning and personality. Many believe the Mets' current fortunes are a product of design, carefully nurtured by a shrewd organization.
You're dynamite. You're dynamite. Let's get a little bit more spice, a little bit more variety in the answers. Have some more fun.
These players are participating in a workshop dealing with the media. The Mets are one of the few teams to employ such a system which bears a likeness to the real thing, maybe not quite as rough. So while the ball players are winning on the field, the front office offers some impressive credentials of its own.
There are instances in the past where a club starts to go on a hot streak and everything becomes a la carte. And I don't think the Mets have not exploited or taken advantage of everyone. They have been equitable, they've been fair, and they've given good value for an involvement with their ball club.
But the Mets may be just riding the wave of baseball's renewed popularity.
Today's game is completely sold out.
For the first time in the sport's history, every team exceeded 1 million in attendance. And marketing revenues for the major leagues as a whole are up 20%. And one other thing.
New York is where it happens. It is the best place. And being that the Mets are here, you can't miss.
Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Seattle just don't get the same attention that New York does.
For whatever the reasons, the Mets are harvesting their success and location. Comparisons are already being drawn to last year's all-media team, the Chicago Bears. Big bucks for a larger-than-life lineman, an outrageous quarterback,
outrageousness,
and a future Hall of Famer into their own version of the Madison Avenue Shuffle.
I think the New York Mets are far more marketable than the Bears.
I think that advertisers can't get enough.
If the Mets win the World Series, I feel that several of the Mets can make an enormous amount of money, and I'm talking about millions.
To further amplify, let's take the case of Jose Cruz. For 12 seasons, he has been among the outstanding baseball players in the National League. But Houston is not a marketing center, and Jose Cruz just simply hasn't had the high public profile he might have had if he had played in the Big Apple. Fair or not, it's a fact of life. Highlights of Game 5, American League Championship Series, in just a moment.
Within 24 hours, the Red Sox and the Angels played two of the most memorable games in League Championship Series history. No highlight package can do justice. This just one priceless memory. After home runs by Boston's Gedman and California's Boone had left the score 2-1 Bo Sox, Angel Bobby Grich hit that sixth-inning fly ball that Boston center fielder Dave Henderson, in the game for Tony Armas, boosted over the wall for a 2-run homer and a 3-2 California lead. The Angels went to the top of the ninth, up 5-2. 3 outs from celebrating Gene Mauch's first World Series visit in a quarter-century of managing. But with 1 out, Don Baylor hit that 2-run homer that brought the Red Sox to within 5-4. Then with 2 out, and again a man on base. Ironically, it was Dave Henderson facing Donnie Moore on in relief of California starter Mike Witt. And Henderson's home run put the Red Sox ahead in the game, redeeming the young man whose year had begun in Seattle for his earlier misplay of Grich's fly ball. In the bottom of the ninth, it was the Angels who came back. Rob Wilfong singled to right field, scored Rupert Jones running for Bob Boone from second base as Jones's great slide eluded Gedman's tag at the plate. The battle raged in extra innings. Great defensive plays on both sides. Again, it was Henderson whose sacrifice fly with the bases loaded gave the Red Sox the lead in the top of the 11th. And the final irony in the bottom of the 11th, Calvin Schiraldi, on the day following the worst night of his life, got Brian Downing, of all Angels, for the last out in the Red Sox victory that narrowed the series lead to 3-2 and sent it back to Fenway Park.
Well, the road leading to Shea has been traveled already by those who have a ticket. Those who don't come. We'll be back for Game 4 of the National League Championship Series after this word from your local station. From Shea Stadium in New York, the New York Mets leading the Houston Astros 2-1, and tonight Game 4 in the 1986 National League Championship Series.
The National League Championship Series, an exclusive presentation of ABC Sports, is brought to you by the Heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet, by Coors and Coors Light, beers with a difference worth tasting, by Prudential Bache, and by IBM and a growing family of IBM personal computers.
And we're about ready to go with game number 4 of the National League Championship Series, and we'll introduce the starting lineups in a moment. You've heard that old line, shooting for the moon. Well, there's the moon, and here's the man that wants to take everybody with him. Mike Scott, called on by his manager Hal Lanier to turn things around for the Houston Astros. In the meantime, he works tonight against a big left-hander named Sid Fernandez. Had a fine season, but different kind of a pitcher than some of you may have seen in recent times, unless you've been to a Mets game. But he's working here to the Houston Astros lineup consisting of Bill Doran, leading off, second baseman, 3 for 12 in the series. Batting second is Billy Hatcher, playing center field, 3 for 11 in the series. Phil Garner at third base tonight, hitting third. Phil 1 for 3 in the one game he's played with an RBI. Glenn Davis, the first baseman, is hitting in the number 4 spot, 3 for 11 with a home run that won the first game. Kevin Bass, right field, batting number 9, 4 out of 10 in the series with a pair of doubles. Jose Cruz is in left field. Jose 3 for 11, batting number 6. Alan Ashby is the catcher. Ashby hitting 7th, 1 for 9. At shortstop with a left-hander on the mound tonight, it is Dickie Thon, 2 for 5. And the pitcher, Mike Scott, batting number 9. Now, let's get a comment from the pitching coach of the New York Mets, the former great right-hander of the New York Yankees, Mel Stottlemyre, on Sid Fernandez and his style, as he talked earlier with Tim McCarver.
Well, Sid has a very unusual pitch and delivery. He seems to throw right out of his body, and he is a pretty good-sized individual. And we have worked with his mechanics some to try to keep his arm up as much as possible when he tries to get the ball down in the strike zone. But even then, hitters complain about not being able to pick up the ball until the last minute. And I think that's what's made him very successful. He's really not overpowering as far as speed-wise. He only throws in the high 80s and occasionally will hit 90. But the way they swing at him, at times, he looks like he's throwing the ball 95 miles an hour.
According to the Mets press book, today is his 24th birthday. He is the first native Hawaiian ever named to an All-Star game. It came this year. And Sid, over the season, had 31 starts, but only 2 complete games. He came out of the Los Angeles Dodgers organization in a trade that brought Diaz and Baylor to Los Angeles.
And one of the things you can look for off of Sid Fernandez is his control. He has had some control problems. He's walked 91, as you see, and 204 1/3 innings of work, about 4 a ball game. He struck out his 200th batter last Sunday, his only big league save as he relieved in the last game of the season to get some work in. His last start 11 days ago. And when you're watching him, watch the difficulty that he has being wild high in the strike zone. He'll be wild up and away to right-handers. Rarely with his fastball will he be wild inside to right-handers. You'd pick that up as you watch Sid work tonight.
And his dad has traveled from Hawaii to watch his son on his 24th birthday pitch in the National League Championship Series. What a nice birthday that is. All right, here we go with Bill Doran stepping to the plate. In the first 2 games, Hatcher led off for Houston, and Doran hit in the number 2 spot. But it was yesterday that Doran moved up, and it was yesterday, hitting left-handed, that he nailed a home run out of here at about 390 feet. The humidity is about 83% as we start this game, which may very well mean less carry on the ball unless it is really nailed. There are some people on these 2 teams that can knock it out of town. I don't care what the weather conditions. And Fernandez starts out with ball 1. Nails it hard. Knocked down by Ray Knight. Goes him out. So the gentleman farmer from Albany, Georgia, gets a taste of the action right off the bat.
Ray Knight playing shallow because of the possibility of a bunt by Doran. And because he's playing shallow, he makes the play before the hop develops. If he's playing back, that last hop might eat him up.
Billy Hatcher, 3 of 11, tries to bunt the ball and fouls it back into the screen. Looks like Rahal Lanier has come out of here with an idea tonight, because you sense that Knight was anticipating Doran might put it down. Well, Hatcher declared himself early on, didn't he?
Yeah, if you're going to bunt against Fernandez, and it is a good idea, you bunt to the first base side, because when he follows through with his windup, he falls that way.
Swing and a foul, back out of play. Sid at 24 is just in the process of trying to learn to control a changeup. He's never had one before, but he's been so strong in A, AA, and AAA. He was able to get away with what he had. That's hit sharply toward the hole. Santana one-hands it. Makes it look easy. Now it's Phil Garner, who plays third base for Houston when left-handers are pitching against them.
That was really a fine play by Santana. Sometimes a shortstop in going to his right, depending on the speed of the runner, has no chance to stop, plant, and throw. You have to throw on the run. And Santana did it then.
I thought it was interesting. He has the quickness and the confidence of it that he literally went in behind it instead of backhanding the ball, took it with an open glove, and was in throwing position as he came up.
See Ozzie Smith do that, and Santana, a guy who played with Ozzie Smith with the Cardinals a couple of years back.
Glenn Davis in the on-deck circle for Houston. If Garner can get something going, the first 2 men out at third and out on a throw by the shortstop, and Garner fouls it back. Phil Garner, of course, had many good years with the Pittsburgh Pirates before moving over to the Houston Astros.
Matter of fact, he starred in that 1979 series, batting .500 against the Baltimore Orioles.
3-1 count to Garner. Swing and a miss. It's strikes him out. It was a 3-2 count to him, and it struck him out. So Hernandez impressive in the opening inning as he turns Houston away in order. Lenny Dykstra in the leadoff position for the New York Mets, to be followed by Wally Backman and Keith Hernandez hitting number 3, playing first base. Gary Carter batting 4, hitting in that familiar number 4 position because of his power. 105 runs batted in and 24 home runs. Darryl Strawberry, one of the stars of yesterday, followed by Mookie Wilson, Ray Knight, Rafael Santana, and Sid Fernandez. Now, Dykstra and Backman have scored 5 of the 11 runs scored in this series by the New York Mets. So you go back to the original premise that was stated when we started this playoff series, that in order for the Mets to have success, numbers 1 and 2 in the batting order had to get on base. The defensive alignment for Houston: Cruz, Hatcher, Bass, Davis, Doran, Vaughn, Garner, Ashby, and Michael Scott. Mike Scott, a former Met, traded to Houston 1982 for outfielder Danny Heap. He was drafted by the Mets out of his junior year at Pepperdine University, which is located up on the bluffs above Malibu. Lenny Dykstra, of course, would figure to bring the crowd to its feet for a standing ovation because of that dramatic home run yesterday that won the ball game. And Scott's first pitch is hit on the ground to the shortstop, Dickie Thon, who himself is a dramatic story in that he was hit over the left eye by Mike Torres, and he fought for over a year to get himself back in good condition, and he's back playing shortstop for Houston. Mike Scott has been stingy in the early going. Basically, I think it's fair to say that he's been a stingy pitcher all year.
Led the league in ERA, 18-10 record. And the Mets have not had success against the Astros in the first 3 innings of any game. They've only had 2 base runners in the first 3 innings of every game so far.
Wally Backman 3 for 10 in the series. Incidentally, Backman was one of the 14 strikeouts. He struck out 1 time. The only man that Mike Scott didn't strike out in that opening game was Lenny Dykstra. And in game 1, only 3 Mets made it as far as second base. And if you remember, Strawberry got around to third in the 9th inning. The only man to get that far. Well, you can see that finger that he holds out of his glove. He does not have any tape on it tonight, so I guess he didn't bring the sandpaper.
Those have been the accusations.
Ball is hit in the air to left field for Jose Cruz. The wind sort of moved it over, it seemed, that with the slice, and the wind would be drifting gently that way if there's enough to matter. And Cruz makes the catch on the line.
Number 17,
Keith Hernandez, who is 5 of 11 with a triple and 2 runs batted in. Hernandez, however, was a 3-time victim of Scott's strikeout pitch in the opening game.
He did have 1 hit, but he struck out 3 times. Highly unusual for a contact hitter like Keith Hernandez.
Plate umpire Dutch Rennert looking up into the stands. I don't know if it's into the press box or what, but there was something up there bothering somebody, and now they have taken care of it. Dutch back at the plate calling the balls and strikes. He had 2 games in which Scott pitched this year, and Scott lost them both. Now, I'm not suggesting anything. It's just a simple coincidence. Dutch Rennert, one of the veteran arbiters in the National League.
And very vocal.
Yeah.
He will let you know when a call strike is made. There you go. On cue, right, Dutch. All right.
Two down, Hernandez at the plate. Carter waiting on deck. To the second baseman, Doran. And so Mike Scott gets the Mets in order in the bottom of the first inning, and very quickly on this mild night in New York, we complete the first inning of play with no score. Tomorrow's baseball game, 5th game between the Mets and Astros, in the afternoon here on ABC at 3 Eastern Time. Tomorrow night we'll have ABC's NFL Monday Night Football, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals beginning at 9 Eastern Time. Steelers and Bengals, one of the legendary series in professional football. Glenn Davis, Kevin Bass, and Jose Cruz now. Davis was controlled pretty well yesterday, but he's gone to a little lighter bat to maintain the bat speed, and Fernandez drills him with a fastball strike. Sid has added a little weight, at least it appears so. That has manager David Johnson growling a tad, and he's also shown a capacity for tiring in middle innings, 5th and 6th. Changes speed and drops a curve in on Glenn Davis for strike 2. So advantage Fernandez, says David Johnson.
Davey feels that tiring and the extra weight gain go hand in hand, or waste and waste.
Loop down the line, and Ray Knight pursues, but Ray can't get it, and it bounces foul.
Glenn Davis tremendously strong. One of only 2 players in Houston Astro history to have over 30 home runs. The other, Jimmy Wynn, the toy cannon.
2-strike pitch is hit to right center, going to drop in there. A little looping liner that falls in front of Strawberry, and Glenn Davis is aboard. So there's your first hit of the ball game, and it brings up Kevin Bass. Kevin Bass is 4 for 10 in the series. He has a pair of doubles, and the right-handed side is his power side.
Matter of fact, he is the only Astro to have homered off of Sid Fernandez this year. He did it here at Shea Stadium back on July 6th.
High pop-up on the left side, but I believe that's going to go to the crowd, and it will. Fernandez was also a 200 strikeout man in 1986, the first since Jerry Koosman. Jerry Koosman was involved in the ceremonial first pitch tonight, along with Tug McGraw, and of course they were both prominent members of that 1969 You Gotta Believe team.
First left-hander, of course, Jerry Koosman back in 1976 won 21 games, and Bobby Ojeda, winner of 18, the most wins by a left-hander since Koosman.
Outside corner.
Tug McGraw got a lot of mileage out of that, you got to believe, didn't he?
Was that 73? He came
1973, yeah.
That's a high fastball, and Sid Fernandez can really burn it, and I'm not sure that one was in the strike zone, but Kevin Bass just couldn't leave it alone.
Oh, this is the pitch you must leave alone if you're going to hit Sid Fernandez. Now, we're told that's an 88-mile-an-hour fastball. Not fast as far as most pitchers are concerned, you real power pitchers, but it's the way he gets rid of the ball that's so important.
Jose Cruz swings and misses, and a snap throw to first. That's pretty close. First base.
Was close. Glenn Davis off a little far, so Hernandez making the late tag, but a good throw by Carter.
1-strike pitch to Cruz. When you see Jose swing that way, you don't really get the impression that he whips the bat. He's a long, sweeping stroke.
One of the few left-handed hitters that's a high ball hitter.
swings and strikes out. Fernandez now has 3 strikeouts, getting Garner, Bass, and now Cruz. 2 down for Alan Ashby, who's a switch hitter and goes tonight against the lefty from the right side. In his last 2 games and 8 at-bats, Ashby has not moved the ball out of the infield. Davis edges off first. Hernandez moves with him, and Fernandez is high and inside to Ashby. Boy, he looked stunned yesterday when Dykstra hit that home run, didn't he? Awful.
Certainly as stunned as Dave Smith. Dave Smith just simply walked off the field.
2 balls and no strikes.
But the emotion did show in Alan Ashby's face as much as anybody. Well, you do that as a catcher. I mean, you feel responsible for calling a pitch. Obviously, it was the best pitch that Dave Smith had, his fork ball. He got beat with his best, and Astros trying to bounce back tonight.
That's a high pop. May have a play on this one. Santana, the shortstop, coming to the wall on it. He called off Ray Knight and then had to compete apparently with some fans to get it and couldn't come out of there with it.
Well, a shortstop on the left side or a second baseman on the right side has the best angle. That's why they usually call off the third baseman or the first baseman.
But this is the first instance where we have seen the additional seats come into play.
That's exactly right. But Santana did call for that ball and was not in a position to make the catch. I think Knight makes the catch if he's allowed to go closer.
I think so. 3 balls and 1 strike now to Alan Ashby with Glenn Davis on first base and 2 down. He struck out Bass and Cruz swinging. Dickie Thon is waiting on deck. That's foul.
Tell you one thing, what you would really hate is for those added seats to allow a hitter like Alan Ashby new life and then have him jack one out of the park the next pitch, and that be the difference of the game. That's a little tough to swallow if you lose like that.
Little things like that, though, have had large meaning in times past.
Yes, sir.
To Ashby. Davis goes. Pitch is swung on. Hit to left. Left fielder going back. Wilson hustling. It's gone. Home run, Ashby. How do you do?
Well, the New York Mets adding those extra seats, obviously, for extra revenue. And just think about it, whether it's extra revenue or not. If this home run is a determining factor in this ball game. One of the very strange things about this game and the new ground rules here at Shea.
Davey has a bit of a stricken look as a result of it, too.
Yeah, because he's used to seeing those foul balls caught down there. Nobody's going to catch this one. Home run, Ashby.
And Dickie Thon swings and misses for strike 1. 2-0. Astros out to the lead. They led 4-0 yesterday, and then went for the came into the tie in the bottom of the 6th when Strawberry hit the 3-runner. 2-strike count now on the Houston shortstop. High in the air to center field for Dykstra. Side retired, but Glenn Davis leadoff single with 2 down. Alan Ashby getting a second life. Hits it out of the ballpark and left, and the Houston Astros lead 2-0 in the middle of the 2nd. Gary Carter, who was struck out 3 times in the opening game of the series by Mike Scott, leads off, followed by Darryl Strawberry and Mookie Wilson. Middle of the order for the Mets. Houston leading 2-0 as we go to the bottom of the 2nd inning. Jim Carter coming in from California to see Gary play. Gary, born in Culver City, grew up in the Fullerton area of Southern California. Mike Scott, 2 balls and no strikes.
I'll tell you, that's very interesting to see Carter take those 2 pitches. I was talking to Mike Schmidt, who had a conversation with Carter last night, and he said there's one sure way of beating that split finger and keep from hitting it out of the strike zone. He said take more often.
Swings through that one and misses for a count of 2-1. Will end the 14 strikeouts in game 1. 9 of them came for Mike Scott on counts of 1-2 or 0-2. So he wasn't behind very much. High pop-up. The shortstop Thon calls for it and accepts it behind second base for the first out. Let's go back to the foul ball that we thought might well have been caught by Ray Knight. It's right down the line. Now right here, Santana is going to call him off. And the ball keeps on drifting, and now Santana is not bold. He does not go to the railing first and force himself in amongst the paying customers and wrestle for that ball.
And you also picked up, Keith, on the first fly ball hit to Jose Cruz in left field, how the wind was carrying the ball toward the left field line. That ball should have been caught, however.
Darryl Strawberry has a strike. Low, you heard Dutch say. Strawberry was claimed by Scott twice on strikes in the opening game. One and 2. Incidentally, Dutch Rennert's just started to play the game of golf, so if you see him on the course, stay loose.
Well, at least you can hear when he says 4.
Yeah, I think so. Struck him out. That is the first strikeout of the ball game for Mike Scott. That fastball, 9-0. Maybe the Jug's gun here is a little faster than the one they had down in Houston, huh?
Well, the ball really gets on top of you in a hurry. He has not really featured that split-fingered fastball yet. Swinging strikeout by Strawberry. 11 of the 14 Ks on Wednesday were also swinging strikeouts.
You got to look at it there. And very quickly, Mookie Wilson has a 2-strike count. And the airplanes have been flying now right over Shea for the better part of 5 hours. To the point where you've had dust devils dancing around the infield. I mean, they really rattle the china sometimes when they come through here.
They certainly do.
Inside. Another one. Split finger. Doesn't throw it as often as you think he might. It's an out pitch. The shortstop Thon has a chance. Oh, bad bounce. Good play, Thon. Talk about quick hands. Wow. That ball turned into a bullet when it hit the crease out there between the grass and the dirt. And it was an exceptional play by Dickie Thon to get the ball. So Mike Scott's retired the first 6 Mets he has faced. There is no score at Shea. Excuse me, there's 2-0 for Houston after 2. Go back to the point I started to make before I muddled it up. There is no scoring again by the Mets after 2. As a matter of fact, they have not scored a run in any game before the 4th inning of play. They got 2, if you remember, back in the 4th inning of the 2nd game they won. Now we have Mike Scott, who in the ball game in the Astrodome, if you remember, had 2 great opportunities to help himself with the bat. He came up twice with the bases loaded and 1 out. And each instance he was unable to help himself. And he's leading off this inning and very quickly falls behind 2 strikes.
He struck out once against Dwight Gooden, and the next time up with the bases loaded and 1 out, he hit into a double play. But he's only needed 1 run with the way he's been pitching so far. And he's got 2 tonight.
Yeah, that might seem like a bonus.
Yeah, twice as many.
Mike was not drafted out of high school. Big fellow, 6'3", about 220. And Sid Fernandez drifts a curve in, but doesn't get the call. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Pepperdine was the only school that offered him any kind of a scholarship to play baseball. Of course, Pepperdine does not have a football program, but they do have a fine basketball program, as well as baseball. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Mike Scott. He just gave him some heat and struck him out. That's 4 strikeouts for Fernandez now, and we go back to the top of the order. Second time around now for Bill Doran and Billy Hatcher, with Phil Garner in case somebody gets aboard. Doran hit it solid first time up, but right at Ray Knight. Pitch is high.
He hit that one the first time up like he plays, solidly. You keep looking for Bill Doran to make a mistake, and he rarely does. He is as solid a ball player as there is in the National League.
Snaps that thing in there, doesn't he, with some authority. He looks fastball when he's at the plate. And probably in the years to come will hit it more and more. That was a tough pitch there.
Well, all young hitters look fastball and have to be able to handle the fastball, and their ability to hit the fastball is what gets them to the major leagues. The inability to hit the curveball is what sends them back.
Sharply struck, but on the ground right at Wally Backman. 2 down for Billy Hatcher.
Coming to the plate, center fielder Billy Hatcher.
That was some kind of ball game today in California, wasn't it?
Oh, my goodness.
Just one great defensive play after another, and then one mistake after another. And in case you missed it, the Red Sox won it in extra innings, 7-6, and they travel tomorrow, headed back to Fenway for game number 6. We play tomorrow afternoon at 3 Eastern time here on ABC at Shea Stadium, and Hatcher has hit that ball high to right center field where Dykstra runs it down and makes the catch, and so Fernandez retires Houston in order in the top of the 3rd inning. And after 2.5 innings of play, it is 2-0, Houston leading.
Game 5 ALCS. It was dramatic. It was amazing. It was a playoff classic. Boston pulls it out in 11 innings to beat California. Game 6, Tuesday night.
This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by the heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet.
Ray Knight, Rafael Santana, and the pitcher Sid Fernandez. Bottom 3rd of the order for the Mets here as we go to the home half of the 3rd inning. And Scott has put them down in order. He got the first 6. Foul back here. Ray Knight with a bit of an uncertain future. They'll talk contract when play is done. See what happens.
Of course, off a very sound year, a year in which he batted .298, so that should certainly help things.
Sharply, 3rd baseman Bill Garner. 1 down.
Now batting for the Mets, the shortstop, number 3, Rafael Santana.
Remember, Santana stung the ball. He hit it hard twice against Scott. Took a marvelous play by Doran, his first time at bat, to take the base hit away from him.
And then the third time up, Davy Johnson pinch hit for him. Danny Heap pinch hit.
And Mike starts him high. Inside, it's 2 balls and no strikes. Might note that Santana is as far back as the law will allow. He wants to look at it as long as possible, I guess. Third baseman Garner again. Throws across, 2 down. Now Fernandez. Well, now pitcher walks up. Folks want to think, well, that's an out. I'll go get something fresh. Don't do it. This guy had 2 game-winning base hits this season and was 11 for 68. Now, the big numbers and the average, forget it. If he gets on it, I never will forget Steve Carlton when I suggested he wasn't much of a threat, and he knocked it all the way downtown St. Louis for 3 runs. And Fernandez hits it on the ground to the first baseman Davis, bobbles the ball, and Scott, the pitcher, is over to get it. And Glenn had to double clutch that one to get it over to the pitcher covering at first base. But Mike Scott retires the first 9 Mets he faces. And after 3 innings of play, it is 2-0. The Houston Astros have the lead. You see Davis here now, bobble it for a moment.
Third baseman.
You look down on Shea Stadium, again packed tonight. They had 55,052 for yesterday's ball game. And Sid Fernandez will be pitching to Phil Garner, Glenn Davis, and Kevin Bass. In the top of the 4th inning, the Astros leading the Mets 2-0. That pitch was high. Right side, second baseman, Backman, short right field for the catch. And now Davis. Davis had singled to lead off the 2nd inning and was aboard when Ashby hit the home run. So he scored one of the 2 Astros counters and steps in against Sid Fernandez. 31 home runs for him this season, 17 in the dome. Well outside.
That's the amazing thing. There are a lot of parks in the National League where the ball carries much better than in the dome. But in the same amount of games, he had 3 more homers in a ballpark that certainly is not conducive to the long ball.
Well, it had to look like a pumpkin coming up there, and Glenn just couldn't contain himself. He went after it and was well out in front.
A lot of those pumpkins are started by seeds.
Yes, that's right.
You swing at it and it turns into one.
Comes right back for the fastball and misses with it. So it's 2 balls and a strike.
Fernandez, there's a saying in baseball about pitchers of his ilk, and it's that his foot hits the ground before his arm comes around. It's what would normally be a strain on the shoulder of a pitcher, but it's his style of pitching, that high kick, and then the foot hits the ground and the body follows.
Breaking pitch is inside, and now Gary Carter wants to go talk. I think he's seeing something developing here with Sid that he wants to get straightened out if he possibly can.
Here's what we're saying. Now watch the right foot hit the ground and yet the arm still be back. See, there's the foot and now the arm's still back. He is a power pitcher. That's a very confusing move or way of delivering the ball for any hitter, because when he starts with the foot hits the ground, the body starts for the hitter, and the ball's not there.
And Phil Garner, Glenn Davis goes on down. Garner having popped out to Backman. Davis single, and now he is walked. And Kevin Bass comes to the plate. Bass struck out swinging his first time. NFL scores: Giants winning big. Dallas won big over Washington. St. Louis beating Tampa Bay. And Fernandez now pitching to Bass, and Bass pops it up. Carter comes back. Gary has a look at it, but it's back in the crowd. Glenn Davis on first base is not the swiftest of the swift on the Houston roster, but ain't the slowest either. But the point to be taken here, I think, is what with the motion of Fernandez, the fact that Houston has stolen 5 bases.
Yeah, he is very easy to steal off of. High kick. He does not have a good move to first base. Very deliberate.
This is popped up to the infield, and Wally Backman's going to have his second put out of the inning. That's 2 down, and Davis stays at first base.
And at the plate, left fielder Jose.
And that brings up Jose Cruz, who struck out swinging his first time up. We're in the top of the 4th inning with the Astros leading 2-0. Cruz hits a high fly ball out into right center area for Darryl Strawberry, loping along, and the side's retired. So Davis is stranded at first, and in the middle of the 4th, it's 2-0 Houston. The pitchers for tomorrow afternoon's ball game: Jim Deshaies, the young left-hander for Houston, 12-5 off 26 starts against Dr. K, Dwight Gooden. That'll be in game number 5 right now. Game 4, second time around for the Mets. Dykstra, Backman, Hernandez. Scott got the first 9 in order. Mets bats remain quiet. They have been quiet in this entire series through 3 innings, but in the first 2 games they started to make some noise in the 4th inning, and that's where we are, bottom of the 4th.
I think the interesting thing about Mike Scott in this ball game, he has not thrown a lot of split finger fastballs, which may account for his only strikeout that coming in the 2nd inning. There was one there.
And he's got a 2-strike count on Len Dykstra.
There are very few pitchers who can continually go to the mound game in and game out and do the same thing with the lineup that they've done with them the last time out. And maybe the Mets thinking that the split finger fastball is coming and trying to adjust to the fastball is the reason that Scott's retired 9 in a row.
That's just low. There's been 1 ball hit to the outfield so far. All zeros in the line score for the Mets so far. High pop-up for Bill Doran at second base. And Dykstra's out. Now Wally Backman, who looped one in the air down the left field line, and Jose Cruz crossing the line made the catch.
Can't really tell much from that angle. As you see the hand in the glove, there we go. right there. Does not appear that Mike Scott is scuffing the ball. That ball really went down.
What are they going to call? Interference?
They are calling it safe because Mike Scott interfered with Wally Backman. But was it the fact that Scott was going after the ball in the process? The defensive player, usually given the leeway in any situation when they're trying to field the ball. However, in this particular case, Davis caught it. Scott went in front of Davis and then knocked Backman over. And I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
Joe West is the umpire that made the call, and Hal Lanier has challenged the call. You remember that Backman was the man involved yesterday in the 9th inning when he seemingly went out of the baseline. Here's another look at the play.
See, Davis is playing shallow in case Backman bunts like he did yesterday. Now watch Scott. He goes in front of Davis. He allows him to make the play, but in the process, he trips Backman. Now, really, when you think about it, that's the best way to allow your first baseman to make the play, is to trip the guy who's running. But obviously, that was unintentional and a controversial play. On the other hand, Wally Backman's got to be, I mean, he's just running down the baseline, not really trying to avoid the tag or anything, and Scott comes and knocks him down. So you can really understand both sides of the argument. Got to go as an infield base hit for Backman.
Well, Lanier is not about to surrender yet.
Hal's probably saying yesterday on the bunt play, said he ran out of the baselines, and now you're saying my pitcher knocked him down, and he's right. But I'll tell you, I understand what Lanier's arguing, and if Joe West had called Backman out, I would have understood why Davy Johnson would have been out there. Really see both sides. No intent on Scott's part to trip Wally Backman, of course. Davy Johnson glad they got the call, and they appear to have.
Well, obviously, Lanier unhappy, but he has lost the argument, and you knew that he would, because the runner obviously must be given access. Now, Backman went out of the base path there trying to avoid the collision, but I'm not sure Wally could have avoided under any circumstances.
He tried, yeah, the key is I think he tried to avoid the collision but didn't try to avoid the tag. That may enter Joe West's thinking.
Could do. So Backman is on first base. And we've had our first brisk conversation of the night. And here's Keith Hernandez now with one out.
It's going to be ruled an error on Mike Scott for obstruction. So it is not a base hit, but Mike Scott for obstruction, interfering with the runner, trying to impede his progress to the base. Probably the only time you can commit an error and not have the ball. Certainly one of the few times in baseball.
First pitch to Hernandez for ball one. Of course, the only thing that would enter into the earned run average situation. But here, nobody is concerned about that. It's the presence of the man on the bag that bothers Mike Scott right now with Hernandez at the plate, and that is foul to the left side. Here's the play going back to yesterday when Lanier argues that he goes out of the baseline here, trying to avoid a tag.
Now, it was Dutch Renard's theory and thinking that Glenn Davis didn't have a play on him yesterday anyway.
He had run past him already.
Right. He had gone past him, thereby not avoiding the tag, and that's what Dutch told us after the game was his ruling on the play. And clearly there, it showed that Davis had no chance to touch Backman in yesterday's ball game.
So it goes down as an error on the pitcher, Scott, simply for getting in the way. Simply put. Keith Hernandez is the hitter for New York with a count of 1-1. Bottom of the 4th inning. The Astros are leading in the ball game, having scored twice in the 2nd inning on Alan Ashby's home run. And they lead 2-0. Blackman goes. Hernandez swings and misses. The throw, not in time. Blackman steals second base, and it's 1-2 on Hernandez.
One of the problems, as you see Wally Backman with a good jump, one of the problems with that split finger, it's like a knuckleball. Alan Ashby could not get it out of the glove, and you get that dead spin in the web of the catcher's mitt, and it keeps rolling around and rolling around. You really don't have firm control of it. And that's why Ashby didn't have a quick release on that throw.
So it's Backman on the far turn now in scoring position. Hernandez 1-2 count. And the Mets have a threat going in the bottom of the 4th. Pitch is up high. 2-2.
Same pitch. He's saying same pitch, same pitch. But twice Hernandez was struck out on high inside fastballs the other day. And if you think it's not healthy to talk to yourself as a hitter, you're wrong. You got to talk to yourself. Just don't answer back.
Down the line, foul. It was about 6 feet foul. Ball struck sharply down toward the left field corner. Well, I've known some hitters that answered back.
Carried on a conversation. I've known a lot of pitchers that answered back. One of them, Lou Burdett. That's not Lou right there. Lou, they call Lou Birdcage. Look, act like he had a bird on his shoulder all the time. Talking to himself, talking to his shoulder.
Two balls and 2 strikes. Foul back one more time.
One of the amazing things about Mike Scott in the second half, his last 6 ball games, he has struck out, the last 6 games that he started, he has struck out 68 and walked 5. Talk about a ratio.
Ooh, that's strong. Little bleeder up the middle. Thon, the shortstop. Backman had to go back to the bag at second. Thon throws out Hernandez. 2 down. And here's Gary Carter.
I would imagine
up to the shortstop.
I would imagine Wally Backman would be glad when this half inning's over. He's had a pitcher knock him down. Now he's got a hitter driving a ball at him. He's got to wait to get back to second. And now somebody almost hits him in the head with the throw. I mean, he's saying, wait a minute, get me home, but get me out of this half inning. What's going on?
Missiles flying around my head.
Bodies hitting me and everything.
Gary Carter now. Inside and tight to Carter for ball 1. Backman aboard at second base. It was an error on the pitcher, not a base hit. Houston 2-2-1. The Mets 3 zeros in your line score. Foul. It was Gary Carter, remember, that made most of the noise in the allegations that Scott was scuffing the ball.
From the first inning on.
Yep.
We brought up in our broadcast the other night, you don't know whether that was bad for the psychology, group psychology of the Mets, or good. Obviously, it hasn't worked yet.
2 balls and 1 strike. It was the Cubs, Jim Fry in particular, that claimed they found sandpaper on a Band-Aid near the thumb on the left hand, claimed that Mike was using it when he rubbed down a new ball.
Yeah, I think Leon Durham found a couple of pieces of sandpaper behind the mound at Wrigley Field in Chicago.
That's a bouncing ball that is foul and picked up by Bud Harrelson, the third base coach. Bill Robinson is the first base coach. I think if I were a pitcher, though, with this kind of a thing going, I would very carefully get me a little pair of scissors and some sandpaper, and I'd cut up little pieces, and I just might go out there and drop them around every once in a while. Let's just plant the idea.
Just like bird seed, huh?
Need all the help you can get these days.
Sure, that's right. Get them to thinking.
2-2 pitch to Carter. He went through there. Strikes out. So right now, Mike Scott's got Gary Carter buffaloed. There's no question about it. He handled him in the game one, and he's handled him so far tonight. And so the Mets strand Backman at first base, their first base runner of the night. And after 4 complete innings of play, it's 2-0 Astros. Atlanta beat the Rams today. So the Falcons continue to look very strong in that National Conference West. Overtime, Minnesota beat the 49ers. Detroit over Green Bay. And the Bears beat Houston. NFL scores of this afternoon. Now Alan Ashby, the man who has done the damage. As far as the Mets are concerned, Alan had a 2-run home run back in the second inning, his first at bat. Followed by Dickie Thon and then Mike Scott. Thank you, Dutch.
At least Dutch is yelling off to the side, not into the ear of the catcher.
Breaking pitch, swing and a miss by Ashby. Joe West, we told you, at first base. Fred Brocklander at second. Doug Harvey over to third. Down the left field line, Lee Wire. And the right field line, Frank Pulley. Two-strike count on Ashby. Punch foul.
Here it is, the 5th inning, and the only reason that the Astros have scored that foul ball that went into the stands that were put up especially for the playoffs, and obviously you can't blame anybody for that. They were put up to give more people a chance to see the ball game, but one of the quirks of this game so far and the difference in this ball game.
That's foul down the left side. Kind of interesting too here that well, it's that these two pitchers who are facing each other tonight were both moved to different locations because the teams that had them at the time of the move had just simply run out of patience with them. Scott let go by the Mets and Fernandez let go by the Dodger organizations, and for the same reason. They just weren't developing as fast as they thought they might have. And so they changed uniforms and they walked right into great success.
Sid Fernandez, of course, pitched at San Antonio. I say, of course, if you're not familiar with Sid, pitched at San Antonio before the trade was made. He came over with Ross Jones and Carlos Diaz, a left-handed pitcher, and Bob Baylor, a utility infielder, went over to the Dodgers. Since then, Ross Jones has been playing in the minor leagues. Bob Baylor has been released, and the Mets have a whale of a young pitcher on their hands, and glad of it.
Sid born in Kailua in Hawaii. Too big to do much at surfing, so he turned to baseball. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Still an avid surfer, though. His mom, to give the players the flavor of Hawaii, often sends macadamia nuts to the Met players.
Ashby hits it in the air, up the alley, high, hanging now, and playable for Dykstra, but almost against the wall in deep left center field. Well, the Raiders beat Seattle today. That's a big game in the AFC West, and Denver jumped on San Diego while Cleveland knocked down Kansas City to finish off the NFL scores of the day. And we come back to baseball now with Dickie Thon, the Houston shortstop up there. There is still some effect of being hit and having partial vision in that left eye by Thon, and he just nailed that one, and it's gone. Home run. Wilson went as high as he could, and it's just over his glove, and Dickie Thon just nailed it. You could hear the crack of the bat, and it was a question of whether or not Wilson would be able to climb high enough to get a piece of it, and he could not, and it is 3-0 Houston. But I was about to say, Tim, that he stands a little more open. He opened up his stance because of the vision problems, and he's obviously swinging pretty well.
Well, he opened up on that fastball inside to Keith Hernandez, and you are so right. What to hitters, there is nothing sweeter than the sound of that little tick hitting the ball at bat ash to agate, as Joe Schultz, old minor league manager, used to say. That's what Thon just did, ash to agate.
And Mike Scott, the pitcher, is up there. So it's been the home run ball that's done the damage against Sid Fernandez, and it's come in the bottom third of the order. The number 7 man and the number 8 man, and that's fouled away. Well, as the old saying goes, if you throw the ball up over the plate, it doesn't make any difference what position you're hitting in. The Major League Baseball players will knock it out of the park.
Anybody who swings is dangerous.
Well, Mike Scott made contact with one here. He's kicked it away and fouled it back a couple of times, but so far in this series, we have not had a single pitcher come up with a base hit. Slow curve comes drifting in, and Mike walks away. That's strikeout number 5 for Fernandez. That was a 65-mile-an-hour curveball. Reed Chubb's name as it came up to the plate.
Keith, you're talking about the pitchers not getting a hit. I guess all of the people who are pro designated hitter are out there saying, well, if they had a designated hitter in this series, Mike Scott wouldn't have been hitting the other night in Houston. He wouldn't have stranded 7 base runners.
Top of the order, Bill Doran. I don't know. I still have mixed feelings about it.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I don't. I am
again
opposed to the designated hitter.
1 ball and 1 strike.
I think it changes the nature of the game, and if you change the nature of the game, I'm not too sure that I can explain it other than a feel that I have for it. And I guess I'm a purist from that standpoint.
Well, when you're playing the game, you should play all the games, shouldn't you?
Well, yeah, you should play offensively and defensively.
Yep.
The nature of the game meant to be played.
2 balls and 2 strikes now on Bill Doran, who has hitless in 2 trips tonight.
Hey, I had a short tenure, about a year in the American League, though, and as I got older, it certainly, from a player's standpoint, became more appealing to me. Yeah. And I'm sure it's appealing to a lot of the older players because they can still help a ball club.
Doran reaches out and swings and just barely tips foul one of those 65-mile-an-hour curveballs. Two. Foul back again. Well, you can take the basic character of a game, I think, as you put it, and get too involved in specialization, and you will erode that basic game. No question about it. I don't disagree with that at all.
Well, there are obviously a lot more run-scoring opportunities when you have the DH. They score about, I guess, a run more a game in the American League and the National League.
2-2 to Bill Doran. He hits it high in the air, and Santana turns his back on it and takes off, but Mookie Wilson calls him off of it, and Mookie makes the catch for the 3rd out. But the Astros get 1 more on Dickie Thon's home run, and they lead it 3-0. Darryl Strawberry at the plate to lead off for the Mets now as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. First pitch is good for a strike. Mookie Wilson will follow Strawberry, and then Ray Knight. Scott retired the first 10, then committed an error when he ran into Wally Backman. And Strawberry hits a high foul back into the crowd on the right side. And it's 2 strikes on Darryl. So the Mets are still hitless. And Danny Darwin is up throwing easily in the Houston bullpen. That's just in case, I would suppose, just because he is scheduled to be a middleman. Right now, Scott pretty much has things his way as he strikes out Darryl Strawberry, and that will tie him with Tom Seaver for the National League Championship Series strikeout total in a series at 17. Tom said it in 1973.
This is after only a game and a half, and if Scott wins this ball game, there's a chance, not a chance, but he will be the pitcher in Game 7 if it goes that long. He could blow that strikeout record right out of tilt.
Dickie Thon throws out Mookie Wilson. 2 down.
I guess the first thought that would come to your mind when you see Darwin warming up was this: since Scott is pitching on only 3 days rest, would Hal Lanier, with the 3-run lead, bring in Darwin? But with Scott not giving up any hits yet and him going along, they've got to win this ball game.
He hasn't gone to a 3-ball count yet.
No, I mean, yeah, that's right. So his pitches have been minimum, they've been minimized, and there's just no way that Danny Darwin is doing anything other than throwing out there in the bullpen, I wouldn't think. Now, if they get a 9-run lead or something like that, I think you might see Darwin in there to save the arm of Mike Scott.
That's a foul ball and a broken bat for Ray Knight, so he'll come back and get another piece of lumber. There's Danny. He would be new to the Mets because he came out of the American League.
And obviously very effective the first time around. He was 5-2 with Houston.
But right now, there's nothing but zeros up there, and I don't think you're going to see Scott come out of there until
no, there's fighting and clawing, maybe. But
that's right.
No chance.
Got a base hit. Ray fouls it back again. In the meantime, over on the other side, Roger McDowell is up now and throwing in the bullpen for the New York Mets. And Roger is the obvious man to come in relief from a Sid Fernandez because, one, Fernandez is a guy with that hard-riding fastball, left-hander. McDowell, on the other hand, is a right-hander and a sneaky fast with a very good sinker. That's the first base hit of the ball game. Ray Knight sharply to left field, and the Mets finally have the first hit.
Oh, this ball, a clean base hit to left field. It was the split finger fastball. And to my knowledge, just off the top of my head, the 5 hits that the Mets got off of Scott in the dome, none of them were a split finger fastball. All were fastballs.
But that one didn't sink. It was up.
Those high sinkers, catchers don't catch those.
Santana is the batter. And Danny Heap has come to the on-deck circle, so Davey Johnson's going to make a pitching change. That's why Roger McDowell is up and throwing in the bullpen. Popped up on the right side. First baseman Glenn Davis. Fairground makes the catch for the 3rd out. So Heap will go back to the dugout, and we'll see about Fernandez. It's 3-0 Houston. Back after this word from your local stations. Line score in the ball game as the Mets finally break through against Mike Scott on Ray Knight's clean single to left field. Now we'll go to the top of the 6th inning for Houston. And we'll have Billy Hatcher, Phil Garner, and Glenn Davis. Sid Fernandez stays in the game. And Hatcher hits a high fly ball for Dykstra in left center. And he makes the catch. Hatcher now is 0 for 3 in the ball game. Phil Garner coming up has struck out and popped out to the second baseman. Phil having shaved off that big black mustache he wore for about a dozen years. Even Gene Tennis has shaved his off. He's coaching for the Houston Astros. I didn't recognize Phil when I first bumped into him without the mustache.
Phil, the annual winner of that Yosemite Sam contest. Of course, and Gina, of course, they're from the old Mustang gang, or Mustache gang. Maybe Mustang, too.
Yeah, they were Mustangs. That crowd was. Whoa. They couldn't find a fight on the ball field. They'd go in the clubhouse and do it.
They certainly would. Won 3 straight world championships, the Oakland A's, back in 1972, 73, and 74.
Garner hits it to center. Lenny Dykstra drifts back a couple of steps and makes the catch. 2 out. And now the drama gets a little more pronounced as Glenn Davis steps in. Davis has singled and walked in his 2 previous appearances tonight. And Sid starts him with a breaking pitch that's up high. He's got Davis right where he wants him. You see he's grown a smaller one back. There's Gino. Good guy.
Most valuable player in the 72 World Series against the Cincinnati Reds.
That was a home run swing by Glenn Davis on a high fastball and didn't get it. But Fernandez has got him right where he wants him. The base is empty and 2 out. You've got to pitch to him. That's the way you want to pitch to him. Foul back.
Glenn Davis is locked in. There's really no other term. Any ball over the fat part of the plate, he is going to have a healthy cut at. He is the only player on either side to have a hit in every game that's been played so far.
Two balls and 2 strikes.
So you get locked in like Glenn Davis is right now, and you can just tell, but with the crispness of his swing, you can't wait to get to the ballpark, regardless of who's throwing. Ball looks like a cantaloupe coming up there.
Full count.
I don't think he's going to get a fastball in this 3-2 count with 2 out, even though nobody's on. But he did.
Yep. And he tore a hole in the ground as he took that swing at it, but he fouled it back. Just missed it. That's that rider, though. That's that rising fastball.
Yeah. It's amazing how many types of pitchers like that both teams have. Jim Deshaies is starting tomorrow afternoon. High fastball. Fernandez, high fastball. Gooden, high fastball.
Popped up. Carter comes back and will have a play. So Gary ignoring the spectators as they were leaning over the added seats there, shouting at him and waving their arms, and makes the catch, and the side retired in order. 3-0 Astros. Lee Mazzilli coming to the plate as a pinch hitter for the pitcher. Mazzilli was a pinch hitter against Scott in the opening game of the series and became his 11th strikeout victim. After Mazzilli, we'll go back to the top of the order. McDowell back in the pen, getting ready to come in relief of Fernandez. It is 3-0 Houston, and the Mets batting in the bottom of the 6th inning.
Lee Mazzilli from Brooklyn. And before Sean Dunston signed with the Chicago Cubs, Mazzilli was the highest round draft choice, highest player selected from the New York area.
Scott out to a 2-strike edge on Mazzilli now. Top of the order is on deck. Dykstra followed by Backman. One and two. Bends it in. Is that what you would consider a hard slider?
Or a cut fastball.
Cut fastball.
Yeah. I don't think there's really the eye of the slider. People used to talk about how tight the spin was. The eye, Joe Becker, an old pitching coach, used to talk about the eye of the slider.
This is the first time in the ball game now that Scott has gone to a 3-ball count. It's a full count on Mazzilli, 3 and 2, and we're in the bottom of the 6th inning. That's fouled back, a defensive swing. Ball ran in on him.
When pitchers cut that fastball, they put the pressure on the middle finger, and that causes the ball. It doesn't cause it to spin, but it causes it to sail in on a left-handed hitter. As a right-handed pitcher, just sail a little bit.
Struck him out. Well, that's his 4th of the night. 1 out, and that ties him with Dave Stieb, who struck out 18 in the championship series of a year ago. But it was a 3-game performance by Dave Stieb in which he totaled his 18 strikeouts, and here Scott's done it in 14 and 3rd innings. Lenny Dykstra takes it inside, has bounced to the shortstop and popped up to the second baseman. And Aurelio Lopez now has moved into the bullpen and is throwing some.
A lot of guys getting their throwing in tonight.
Fouled at the plate.
I'll tell you the thing, Keith. Mike Scott's pitching against big league hitters. Not only that, the Mets led the National League in batting with a .263 average. They were 3rd in home runs, and they won 108 ball games. So if you think Mike Scott is pitching against a bunch of Humpties, you're dead right. I mean, these are good big league hitters, and sometimes these guys go up there, it's no contest.
One and one count.
Wow.
Well, you know, in 1985 he was 18 and 8.
After he nursed and rehearsed that split finger fastball, changed his life around and a lot of hitters' lives around in this league.
That pitch was high, and it's 2 and 2 now to Dykstra. You look at Dykstra and you see he's going to stand 5'9" or so, and then he crouches in the box. He's not a big target, but he's strong. He's thick. That's foul. Of course, this is the game where people 5'9" can play and be very, very successful. It just depends on what they do.
Well, we talked about it earlier. It's not really the game that too many 5'9" guys can be a designated hitter, though.
That's true.
Most 5'9" guys have to play good defense unless they're pitchers. And that was our point earlier about the nature of the game. When you change that, change a lot.
Well, Scott's got 5 strikeouts in the ball game tonight. And now he owns the championship series strikeout record.
With 19 in less than 2 games.
That one might have been out of strike zone there.
Well, you know, it's my opinion that more than half of the strikeouts that are swinging are balls that are out of the strike zone. But with 2 strikes, that's why it's important to get ahead. With 2 strikes, you have a tendency to go for a ball out of the strike zone because you're trying to protect, and you are a defensive hitter.
I think Wally Backman just took a call strike there that was probably unhittable. He just dove over that inside corner. I don't know how in the world you'd hit that thing. That was high. 2 out. Bottom of the 6th inning. 3-0 Houston.
A guy like Scott, who does throw the split-finger fastball, the ball to be effective is out of the strike zone. And to accentuate that point, 16 of the 19 strikeouts that he has mounted have been swinging strikeouts. Wow. Wow.
Fastball was up. So for the 2nd time in this inning now, he's gone to a 3-2 count. Hadn't done it at all in the ball game up until now in the 6th inning. But he's got 2 out and nobody on. Bouncer to the first baseman Davis. Clint will do it himself, and the side is retired. So he gets him in order. And after 6, 3-0 Astros. As you know, the New York Mets have been in 2 World Series, won 1 in '69, lost in '73 in the National League Championship Series to the Cincinnati Reds. And one of the highlights involved the Mets third base coach, Bud Harrelson. He got into a dandy fight with Pete Rose on a play at second base, bringing both teams out of the dugout. And as we play this 1986 Championship Series, Bud Harrelson remembers 1973 this way.
I popped off in Cincinnati after Matlack threw a 2-hitter and said that they all look like me hitting. I guess the Cincinnati Reds didn't appreciate that. And Pete was mad when he got here. And I thought he hit me after the play was over. I'd already thrown the ball to first base on a double play. And I had some words with him. He said I didn't know him well enough to call him those names. And he picked me up off the ground, and the fight was over.
But it wouldn't be over. Bud Harrelson. Well, what, Bud weigh 160 pounds maybe?
Uh-huh.
Maybe.
And little Pete was not that little.
Roger McDowell is into the ball game now in relief of Sid Fernandez, and Kevin Bass jumps on the first pitch and lifts it out into left field, where Mookie Wilson makes the catch.
There are the numbers on McDowell. He won more games than any reliever in the major leagues this year. Led the National League in innings pitched for a reliever. Set an all-time Met record in appearances. And 22 saves. He had a marvelous year.
Jose Cruz is now the hitter. He jumps on the first pitch and bangs it to the right side. Backman throws him out. So the Astros are making it easy for Roger here in the top of the 7th inning. Alan Ashby is coming. The book on Fernandez, 6 innings, 3 runs, all earned, walked 1, struck out 5.
And coming to the plate, catcher Alan Ashby.
Alan Ashby comes to the plate now. Alan switches to the other side, having hit right-handed in the 2 previous appearances in the game, and his first time up tonight hit a 2-run home run to left field.
I'd like to correct that about the victories. Mark Eichhorn of the Toronto Blue Jays also had 14 wins, so McDowell tied Eichhorn for the major league lead in wins.
A bullet off the bat of Ashby, gloved by Santana. Roger McDowell almost nailed by that one as it went whistling by, and even Santana had trouble knocking it down, but he throws him out, and McDowell gets him in order in the top of the 7th. 3-0 Astros. Frank Sinatra ringing across Shea Stadium with you know what, and the stretch time in the 7th inning as we look down on the house that Bill helped build. That from a helicopter. It turned out to be a very nice day with all of the dire forecasts in the offing. One thought it might be freezing cold, and it was cold out here yesterday, but today there's very little wind, and the temperature at game time was 55 degrees. It's a 3-0 lead for the Houston Astros as the Mets come up in the bottom of the 7th inning against Mike Scott. He's allowed 1 hit, a clean single to left by Ray Knight. Keith Hernandez, Gary Carter, and Darryl Strawberry. Hernandez hitless in 2 trips tonight. And it's outside. Crowd trying to get into the ball game now, but Scott's kept them quiet so far. Ball 2.
I tell you, for crowd control at a ball game, I know of no better sedating effect that an opposing pitcher will have on that crowd. And this man tonight has certainly had it, as much as he had the animated effect on the Houston crowd in game 1.
2-1. As he took a little something off that pitch, it looked like. It is now 2-2. And the bottom dropped out of it.
And the fact is, he can throw it for strikes. Keith is saying, what's going on?
Two-two. The leadoff man in this inning, Hernandez, and Keith fouls it back.
Noticing some comments from other players about Mike Scott. They said the best way to hit the split finger fastball is to move up in the box, hit it before it breaks, but then you have to cope with that fastball of his. He gets as many strikeouts on that as the other pitch.
Foul ball. Well, you move up in the box and you make that 91-mile-an-hour fastball 93.
That's right. You know, scuffing really a new term in baseball. It used to be the only thing you had to deal with as far as illegalities of pitchers. Slippery elm, moisture, that's what made it go down. But now it's a legal pitch when you can split your fingers and make a ball do what Scott can make the balls do.
Towering pop-up. Bill Doran, the second baseman, and 1 out.
I caught several pitchers that threw spitters. I never caught a pitcher that cut a ball or scuffed one. As a matter of fact, in a golf tournament a couple of years ago, I ran into Lou Burdett, and I was telling a friend of Lou's. Lou lives down in Sarasota, Florida. I was telling his friend, I said, Lou, you remember our sign for the spitter? He said, I never threw one. I said, Lou, wait a second. I caught it. I gave you a sign. The sign was the tug on the chest protector. He said, I never threw one. And I played 18 holes of golf with him that day, and he denied it for 18 holes.
Gary Carter bounces one back to Scott, and he throws him out, and he gets the first 2 here in the bottom of the 7th inning. I'd like to be on the jury debating that with Burdett. Darryl Strawberry, who has struck out swinging twice tonight. He has struck out 8 times, 2 in each game. So Darryl has had a total of 8 strikeouts in the series so far. But yesterday, 3-run home run to tie it. Ball 1 to him. Broke his bat on Doran. Boxes it around and throws him out. So Scott gets him in order in the bottom of the 7th inning, and the score remains Houston 3, the Mets nothing. And we'll have more after this word from your local station. All right, we'll move now to the top of the 8th inning. Dickie Thon will lead off for Houston, followed by Mike Scott, the pitcher, and Bill Doran, top of the order. 2nd inning of work for Roger McDowell. He got him in order in the top of the 7th. It is 3-0 Astros. And right now, Mike Scott's on a 1-hitter. But on the other hand, Houston's had only 3 hits, but 2 of them have been home runs. And Thon has 1 of those home runs, and he fouls that away.
I think it's interesting to note that you can see almost the same action on Roger McDowell's fastballs as on Mike Scott's split finger fastball. But of course, with McDowell, it's the sinker.
Like that.
Roger has a very sophisticated way of explaining how he throws that pitch. He said, I hold it with the seams and I throw it as hard as I can. has no idea why the ball sinks.
Bouncing ball, 3rd baseman Ray Knight on the move and gets him.
Now battle, pitcher Mike Scott.
Boston beat California today 7-6. They travel tomorrow, go back to Fenway for continuation of the American League Championship Series. Scott has struck out swinging and struck out looking against Fernandez. First time he has faced McDowell. Radar gun up into the window.
You know, it's not that a radar gun can do no good, because I think it's good for rehabilitation programs when a pitcher gets his strength back. But for a guy like Roger McDowell, it's really not an effective way of gauging how effective he is pitching, because Roger relies on movement, particularly late movement, and location. And that, more than speed, gets hitters out.
It would seemingly be utterly useless for Bob Ojeda.
Yeah, right. One change after the other. Bobby Ojeda slated to go in Game 6. And the Mets and Houston Astros will go back to Houston if Houston wins this ball game.
2-2 pitch to Scott. Swung on and missed, and he strikes out for the 3rd time tonight.
The next batter.
2 down, and Bill Doran coming up. Originally, this championship series best of 7 was scheduled to be played 2 games here, 3 in Houston and 2 games here. But for a number of reasons, some kind of complicated, it was switched the other way around. One of the factors in it, though, was a conflict of stadium use between baseball and football teams. And of course, the Astros play in the Dome, and so do the Houston Oilers. Doran, a switch hitter, turns around now and hits from the left side, and hitting left-handed yesterday, he had a home run. That is hit on the ground to the shortstop, Santana. And the side's retired. So Roger McDowell comes in and gets 6 in a row. And we're in the middle of the 8th inning, and it's 3-0 Houston.
This ABC Sports exclusive is being brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light.
It's a battle between AFC Central Division rivals. The Pittsburgh Steelers take on quarterback Boomer Esiason and the Cincinnati Bengals on ABC's Monday Night Football tomorrow.
Mookie Wilson leads off for the Mets in the bottom of the 8th inning. Against Mike Scott, Ray Knight, Rafael Santana follow. Scott coming into this inning. That is his 82nd pitch. In Houston in the opening game, he threw 125. So he is now in the 2 games thrown a total of 207 pitches. So he has been more efficient tonight than he was in Houston. He's only allowed 1 hit. Maybe 2 right here. Doran turns and throws on the bounce and base hit Mookie Wilson. So the Mets have the leadoff man aboard.
Mookie Wilson pounding this ball in the ground, and a guy with Wilson's speed, there's no chance to get Wilson on a play like that, but Bill Doran, a valiant effort.
So now Ray Knight, who prior to Wilson had the only hit of the ball game. Kerfeld and Calhoun now up in the bullpen for the Astros. Charlie came in and pitched an inning yesterday and was impressive. The 8th inning. Howard Johnson is up in the on-deck circle, swinging a bat. That's foul. And again, Knight had sharp contact on it.
You mentioned Charlie Kerfeld, Keith, of course, the subject of a lot of second guessing, and that's part of baseball. It's not a good part of baseball, but can't stop that from the fans. But second guessing Hal Lanier for taking Charlie Kerfeld out of that game yesterday, and Hal Lanier simply stated, he said, if I had it to do again, I would do the same thing.
Pitch is high. 1 ball and 1 strike tonight. There's Big Charlie. And the lefty is Jeff Calhoun. One pitch tonight. Pops him up. It's going to come out of play back in the crowd. I see Scott a couple of times now in the last couple of innings. He's been fussing a little bit out on the mound.
Well, you remember the 8th inning of game 1. That was the inning he became, if you want to say it, unraveled. How can you become unraveled when they haven't scored a run off of it? But he was very wild, and Les Moss had to go out to talk to him. That was last Wednesday, 8th inning.
They appeal at first and no swing. Look for yourself.
Did not appear that he went around because there was too much body in the swing. Get that much body, and the umpire is more inclined to call it no swing.
2-2. Wilson goes. Knight swing. Hard shot. Third base. Good play. Garner throws across. Gets him. Wilson goes to third. And the ball gets loose. And backing up is Thon, the shortstop. And daring base running by Mookie Wilson.
Yeah, daring, especially when you're 3 runs down. But on the positive side, Wilson has done something unusual against an extraordinary pitcher. And that's Mike Scott. Now watch Wilson. He sees Garner dive to his right, and then when he gets up, ignoring him at second base, he takes third. The throw low by Glenn Davis. But Wilson trying to get something animated, and the best way to do that is to run the bases. What a play by Garner.
Now you've got Danny Heap, who has just come out of the dugout and picked up a bat. He was up there earlier in the ball game and then came away when the out was recorded in front of him. So now, with Danny Heap coming to the plate and Howard Johnson on deck, Mike Scott, with 1 out, has got the pitch to 2 left-handers. 1 out, remember, as Wilson stands at third. 3-0, Houston leading. Bottom of the 8th inning. And Scott is high to Heap. Lanier, one of the busiest men I've ever seen in a dugout, what with his hand signals, but David Johnson scarcely moves.
Interesting point, huh?
Well, you very seldom see David moving around, but oftentimes you'll see Lanier talking, hand signals or some kind of signals to his catcher, Ashby. And certainly when the team is on offense, he's constantly giving signs. Johnson's very quiet. There's a strike. Dutch Renner took a pretty good time to look at it and then called it a strike. Count is 2-1 on Heap, the pinch hitter, with Howard Johnson coming next. Mookie Wilson is at third with 1 out. Ball is hit in the gap. And Hatcher runs it down. Wilson tags. Here's the throw. He'll score. It's 3-1 Houston. Two down on Heap's sacrifice fly to Hatcher.
Well, it's kind of a moral victory for the New York Mets to get a run off Scott. The first one yielded in the 16 2/3 innings that he's worked so far. But they would give Danny Heap that fly ball. They wanted, as far as the Mets were concerned, they wanted an extra base hit out of it. The run's fine, but time's running out.
With Heap and now Howard Johnson, it means that the potential exists here for 5 successive left-handed hitters because Dykstra, Backman, Hernandez all swing from the same side. And Howard Johnson, Hojo, is a dead fastball hitter. He sits on it. That one is outside. Ball 1.
Can one hit really turn a club around? Well, some people think that the hit that Howard Johnson got way back on April 24th against Todd Worrell of the Cardinals was the key hit of the season for the New York Mets. It tied the game, a 2-run homer in the 9th inning, and the Mets went on to sweep the Cardinals in that series and then just took over in the National League.
One count to Johnson. That's foul. It's 1-2. This telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball may not be reproduced nor retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball.
That's what he tried to do the other night in the 8th inning. He was high with everything, and the only time he really lost his cool was in the 8th inning. Got high with everything. It looks as though Lanier is asking less. What's going on? Howard Johnson's wife, Kim.
That's hit to Kevin Bass. Moving in right field. He makes the catch. And the side is retired. But the New York Mets get a run. And headed for the 9th inning, it's 3-1 Houston. Third pitcher for the Mets in the ball game, Doug Sisk. You see, he was fairly busy himself during the course of the season. Lives in Tacoma, Washington. Pitched for Bobo Brayton at my alma mater, Washington State. So Roger McDowell comes in and certainly does what was expected of him. He got 6 in a row. And the Mets have got a run, and now here is a foul ball that was bounced into the dugout, and you watch the New York Mets examine that thing. They're going to look at it and look at it and look at it.
Tim Tuffle, Rafael Santana examining that ball, hoping to find something. Look at Rafi. He said, wait a minute, I think I got something. Bobby, you check it out. Ronnie, what do you think? Nope, can't find anything.
All right, Doug Sisk in to face Billy Hatcher, Phil Garner, and Glenn Davis in the top of the 9th inning. And Walling will be out on deck now, swinging a bat. He will go over to third base and replace Phil Garner at that spot at the bottom of the 9th inning. Elster is now playing shortstop. A hit for Santana. And the pitcher spot will be number 8 in the order. That's bouncer cut off by Knight. Nicely, and Ray guns him down. So 1 out. And here's Walling.
Attention, please, for the Astros. Batting for third baseman.
Game 5 of the National League Championship Series tomorrow, and you'll get a chance to see the rookie left-hander for Houston, Jim Deshaies, 12-5 on the year against Dwight Gooden. But the key thing right here, as far as Houston's concerned, to win this ball game, because win here, and it takes them back to the Astrodome, regardless of what happens tomorrow. Walling hits the ball in the gap. Baxter can't get to it. It's going through to the wall, and Walling coasts into second, standing with a double.
I'll tell you, pinch hitting has always amazed me. You think about it, hitters come out, they take batting practice, and then here it is, the 9th inning, they wait all the time. The body has a chance to get cold, and Denny Walling comes out and smacks the first pitch. I mean, he hit it like he knew what was coming.
Yeah, but he's a tough customer.
Yes, he is. He really is. But pinch hitting, a very refined art, or you've got to refine it to be good at it.
Glenn Davis is up. Single, walk, fouled out to the catcher. 3-1 Astros in the top of the 9th inning, and Doug Sisk, the third pitcher for the New York Mets. And Dave Smith is up in the bullpen.
So Hal Lanier will do it again if necessary.
That's fouled back by Davis. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. There's Hal Lanier. Doug Sisk. The expectant attitude right now. This crowd's going to be up storming at the bottom of the 9th inning. Davis, big swing and a miss on a good fastball from Sisk. The count is now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Danny Walling off second base. 1 out. Popped up, coming back out of play.
Usually at this stage of the ball game, managers like Hal Lanier and Davey Johnson make a lot of trips to the water cooler. Take a sip of water, get back up, take another sip of water.
Incidentally, it'll be the top of the order for the Mets as we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Ball bounces. Carter blocked it.
What a play that was. Oh, boy. A catcher anticipates a breaking ball in the dirt, but there's no way of anticipating this type of sinker. That's one of those 54-footers. Oh, what a quick reaction play by Gary Carter to hold Walling at second.
Two balls and 2 strikes on Davis. That's low.
Doug Sisk actually fought his way back to the big leagues. He had 15 saves his rookie year in '83. was sent out in spring training to Tidewater, the AAA affiliate, fought his way back.
To the shortstop, Elster. And he throws him out. So Davis is gone, and now here is Kevin Bass, who will go from the left side against the right-hander Sis. They got Hatcher to bounce to third. Walling came in, double to left center to the wall. Now Davis bounces out to short. A 3-1 ball game, Houston. Inside. Remake the point. Dave Smith is now the man in the bullpen for Houston. 1-1. He just as strong now as he was when the game started.
Dutch rendered is. That Dutch can bellow out strikes. Ball's no big deal. Ball one. Very meek and humble.
Lawrence Henry Renard Jr. Inside. Three balls and one strike to Bass. Jose Cruz, the man on deck for Houston. Two down with Walling edging off second. Walks Bass. Now Cruz. I'll tell you, a run here for Houston will be so big, wouldn't it, Tim?
It really would. And Doug Sisk obviously trying to prevent that. The interesting matchup here is that Doug Sisk has problems with his control, and Jose Cruz a very good bad ball hitter. Instead of strength against strength, you almost have weakness against weakness here. But both are strong.
Randy Neiman is now headed for the New York bullpen. He's a left-hander. They used Orozco yesterday. Bouncer, third baseman Ray Knight steps on the bag, forcing Walling coming down, and the Astros are turned away in the top of the ninth inning. One more turn for the New York Mets. Houston leads 3-1. We'll be back to Shea Stadium after this commercial message and a word from your local station. Glenn Dykstra leads off for the New York Mets in the bottom of the ninth inning, trailing 3-1. Wally Backman will follow, then Keith Hernandez, then Gary Carter if somebody gets aboard. And the top 5 people in the New York batting order are hitless tonight. Walling is in on the grass at third, and Davis in on the grass at first in case Dykstra tries to lay one down. And the first pitch is ball one from Mike Scott.
With the Mets trailing by 2 runs, Dykstra will probably take a strike. I doubt that he will be hitting until he gets a strike on it.
He just got it. Houston trying to even the series at 2-2. Up the bat handle, and the pitch is high. Two and one. Three and one.
He'll be taking here, too. The reason you take in a situation like this, basically your run is no good.
You cannot hit a 2-run homer with nobody on base.
Crowd's in it now. Three and two.
Those strikes will take crowds out of it, won't they?
Three successive left-handed hitters to face Scott. It's hit to left field. Base hit for Dykstra. Cruz brings it back in, and Lenny's aboard. That is the third hit of the ball game for the Mets. Now it's Wally Backman.
Well, a good piece of hitting by Dykstra. The fastball a strike away, and the little one-handed slap shot. Good piece of hitting by Dykstra. I'll tell you, if you're thinking about yesterday's ball game and Dave Smith coming into the game, Mike Scott still throwing well. And if Hal Lanier, if his theory yesterday was to go with your best when he went with Smith, tonight I think he's going to think he ought to go with his best, and his best is Scott. And if he gets beat with Scott, there's no looking back.
Dykstra off first, Backman up. Pitch is low.
I'm really surprised to see Glenn Davis holding Dykstra on at first. That run is no good. It's more important for the Astros to get the out than it is for the Astros to hold Dykstra at first.
What? Scott knocks it down, throws him out at first base. That's one out as Dykstra goes to second.
Well, what a nice play by Mike Scott. Had that ball gotten by him, it's easily a base hit.
Now batting, first baseman.
As you see the bunt play, watch Scott dive for it. He cradles the ball and just gets Backman. You saw Hal Lanier on the top step. What he was doing was telling his outfielders to throw the ball to second base. Don't worry about trying to get Len Dykstra. His run means absolutely nothing. Pitch and play as though no one were on base.
Keith Hernandez. Keith is about ready to start answering back. That's foul. Ed Scott, 0-2. Three to 1, the Astros lead it. One out for the Mets, and Dykstra on second base. Hernandez representing the tying run at the plate. That's fouled off.
Both managers handling themselves very calmly and uncharacteristically, especially for Hal Lanier. I'll tell you, that's what you try to do. You try to calm yourself down as much as you can.
Two-strike pitch. Bounce to the second baseman, Bill Doran. Throws out Hernandez. Dykstra goes to third, 2 down.
And now, the catcher,
And now, Gary Carter, who has popped up to the shortstop, struck out swinging, and bounced back to the pitcher. In the 2 games, Carter has struck out 4 times against Scott.
Gary has not even hit a ball out of the infield, as a matter of fact. In game 1, he grounded out to third, striking out 3 times. Tonight he has struck out once and grounded out once and popped to second.
And he has the 1 hit, just 1 hit in the entire series. So his bat has been quiet. That ball is hit high in the air to center field for Billy Hatcher. This should do it. Game is over. Mike Scott has beaten the New York Mets for the 2nd time in the National League Championship Series. A 3-hitter tonight, and the Houston Astros win it 3-1. The series is now even at 2 games apiece, and for sure will go back to Houston. So Hal Lanier sent his stopper out, and he did the job. 3-1, your final score. Well, you see the line score. 3-4-1 for Houston, 1-3-0 for New York. Michael Scott the winner. Sid Fernandez the loser. Home runs from Ashby and Thon. The series is all even at 2-2. And Mike Scott, you were even more efficient in tonight's ball game. He only threw 109 pitches.
Thanks, Keith. I don't think I had the same stuff I did in the first game. I didn't have the good hard fastball, but I kept my split finger in the strike zone, and I didn't walk. I don't know if I walked anybody, but not enough to really hurt me. And I think that's a key for against these guys. You did not walk anybody and struck out 5, and I thought remarkable. I also sensed, and Tim and I seemed to agree, that you struggled a bit, it seemed, with your mechanics in the 8th inning in Houston, and it seemed almost the same time again tonight. Yeah, I was a little tired. My arm was a little tired, and I went mostly with a split finger towards the end because I didn't really have confidence enough in my good hard fastball to get it by some of those guys, and with guys on base, I didn't want to leave one out over the plate and let them hit it out of the park. So basically towards the end of the game, when a guy was up there that could hurt me with a home run, I tried to keep it away from him.
Mike, you threw the split finger at the end of the game, but it appeared that your strategy, you and Alan Ashby's strategy, was changing a bit at the beginning of the game because it didn't appear that you threw too many split finger fastballs the first 3 or 4 innings. No, I went mostly with my fastball then. I just went out there and, you know, my idea today was to go out there and go as hard as I could, as long as I could, and just see what happens. You know, towards the end of the game, like I said, I got a little bit more tired and I didn't have the good hard fastball, but I could keep the split finger in the strike zone or close enough to let them swing at it, and I think that was a difference. Did you feel any of the effects of working with only 3 days rest? Well, I knew, yeah, I felt it a little bit late in the game, but I've done it earlier. And usually, you know, if you don't go out there and try to muscle the ball and stay within yourself, you're not going to have the same velocity, and I'm sure I didn't today, but you still got to throw strikes. And that's what I tried to do today. Humidity was 83%, too. That's pretty wet. Well, that didn't bother me. It was cold enough that I felt my body was strong at the end of the game. I was just concerned about my arm. Now you're obviously hoping for the chance to send this thing into Game 7 or have Jim Deshaies and Nolan Ryan sew it up so you won't have to pitch. That'd even be better. I wouldn't mind not pitching another game as long as we're in the World Series. You also put your name in the record book tonight. You now have struck out more people in a championship series than anybody in Major League Baseball. You passed Dave Steve tonight. I didn't know that. Well, that's nice to know. Mike Scott, you were terrific. You've just been a super pitcher through this entire season, and our heartiest congratulations to you. Thank you, Keith. Mike Scott, the winning pitcher in tonight's ball game as the Houston Astros defeat the New York Mets by a score of 3-1 and even the series at 2-2. And in behalf of Tim McCarver, I think I can say to you, he was right down Westheimer all night long. A moment for the Houston Astros catcher Alan Ashby, who put one in the bullpen on the left-hand side tonight to make it a 2-0 lead back in the 2nd inning. What did you hit?
Well, it was a fastball, 3-2 count. Sid Fernandez is basically a fastball pitcher anyway, Keith, and I was just fortunate. I tell you, I don't hit too many from that side.
Yeah, but you got almost a second chance over here because the ball got lost on the railing of those added seats over there. So the attempt for revenue gave you a second breath and you cashed it in.
From my point of view, I did get a second chance. I thought that ball was an out when I first popped it up, and I had my head down. Ball landed in the stands, and I was grateful to get another chance.
Congratulations on the win, Alan.
Thank
Go home now, and you can approach this thing tomorrow with a little different attitude.
Well, yeah, now we're back 2-2. We know we're going back to Houston. We've got Jim Deshaies, the left-hander, going tomorrow. We're going to go back to Houston, certainly have Nolan Ryan on the mound, and hopefully have a chance for that Mike Scott again.
Thank you, Alan. Congratulations.
Thank you, Keith.
3-1. Astros win it. Stay with Peter Jennings and ABC News for continuing coverage of President Reagan and General Secretary Gorbachev at the summit in Reykjavik, Iceland, and a complete wrap-up of the day's events tonight. Watch an expanded edition of ABC News Weekend Report on most of these ABC stations. Tonight's ABC Sports Exclusive has been brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By the Heartbeat of America, today's Chevrolet. By McDonald's. It's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's. And by Honda all-terrain vehicles. Come ride with us. Honda ATVS. National League Championship Series continues tomorrow. Game 5, Houston and New York. Coverage begins at 3 Eastern Time. Travel arrangements made through and promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. Nobody knows Hawaii like United. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports.